Okay, so let us create a program to save names and grades of specific students. For this example, we are going to utilize arrays. So for this set of examples, we want to output uh, the class list. So Tim has a grade of 90, Vim has a grade of 95, Kim has a grade of 80. In arrays, you have to output the index values. So we take the array name, student names, and then take the index placement. So for example, Kim will be index 2 because for arrays, the index start from 0 all the way to whatever the end of the arrays will be. Okay. So with this method, we should be able to output the 3 students that we have. But the problem is it is very meticulous and repetitive. So along with the arrays, we will be utilizing for loops. So we will get rid of the predefined values. First, in order to have a specific size to our arrays, first we must determine how many students will be inputted. So how many students will you input? Okay. We will save that to the variable count. Convert. We have to convert everything that is not a string first before we save the value. When we have to specify the size of the array, we use the new method and then the data type. And inside the square brackets, we have to specify the size. But for this example, the size will be determined by how many students you want to input. So if I want to input 10, 20, 30, the size of the array will adjust. So if I put, for example, 3, we will have 3 elements inside the array. Um, for this method, we need to save the value. So in order to save a value, you actually need to take the array. For example, student names. You have to take the first index, which is you have to use the first index to save the first value. And then, for example, the corresponding grade, like this. For example, console.writeLine, enter the student's name, and also the grade. For the name, since we already have a string, we can directly just save it using console.readline. But for the grade, it is a double, so we have to first convert it to double before using the console readline to save the value. The problem with this, although we can use this method, we actually don't know how many values the user wants to input for the name and the grades. So we cannot predict up to how many values we have to output. So we don't know the limit of the indexes that we have to write. So usually, this is how you would output their values. So let us, for example, 3. Let us take student A and his grade. Student A, hold on, let me mess up. Yep, that's the names, student, grade, there. Okay, 2. Student name, student A, his grade, 90. We can output the saved values on index 0. But the problem is, we still have to save the other values. So for that example, we put 2, but we were only able to save 1 value. So we have to now utilize the for loop method. Since the indexes start with I, let us initialize the variable I to 0. And then, as long as the variable I is less than the input, which is saved on the variable count, we will increment to that value. So since we are incrementing to that value, for example, I put in 2, it increments all the way to 1, we can just utilize the variable I for this, for saving values. And it will automatically save every value up to the desired amount that the user wants. You can also do this for outputting values, since it is just the same method. You don't actually have to use I, you can use anything. For example, A, 0, as long as the value is less than count, we increment to that value to meet the desired uh, amount, which is up to how many values are saved inside the array. So for this example, what are we missing? Ah, my bad. We used A instead of I. So we have to adjust accordingly. How many students will you input? Two. We have student A. Oh, that doesn't look right. Student A has a grade of 90. Student B has a grade of 95. So now we can output their grade along with their name. Let's just add a separator in between and call it the student. Oh, what happened? Student list. Okay, my bad. Let's console that right line, missing a quotation mark. So now we can output up to desired value A, 90, B, 95, C, 91, with their names and their grade. Okay, so here is the part that we want to really learn. Okay, using using the functions embedded in system.linq, min, max, min, max, average, etc., sum, we will utilize those methods and also array.index of. Okay, array.index of requires two things. Array.index of needs the array name that you want to use, and then inside that array, you want to find the index of a certain value, for example, 90, right? That is the purpose of array.index of. It finds the index of a given value. So, for example, I want to find the index. Okay, I want to find the index of a grade. So array that index of. I want to find the index of a grade value 90. Okay, so this means that wherever I input the value 90, it will find the index. So first, let's input two values. We have A. A is at index 0. This one has the value of 85. First, we know that A is at index 0. But if we change the location of 90, for example, A has not the value of 85, B has the value of 90. Instead, it will give me index 1 because it is now located at index 1. Okay. So utilizing this method, I want to output the name of the top performer as well as the lowest. As well as the lowest. Okay. So here's one thing that we know. We can use the min and max function. So min and max. I bet this one is going to be max. This is going to be min. To find the highest and the lowest values of a given array. For this example, we have the student grade array, student grade dot max, and student grade dot min. So we take the array name and try to find the max and the minimum. Okay. So A has 90, B has 85. Okay. We know that A has 90, B has 85. We also know that the highest value is 90 and the lowest value is 85. But the problem is we don't know who it is yet. So for example, we have three students. A, oh, hold on. That should be a number. 3. A has 90, B has 85, and C has 100. We know that the top performer is 100, the lowest is 85, but we don't know the name yet. This is where array.index comes into play. We already know, and we can already find out, for example, using array.index of a student grade. That is the name of the uh, array. And also, we already know that this will always output the maximum value. This is the array name. We need two parameters, if you can remember, and also the value. The value can be found using this method. So let us also do the same thing for the lowest value. So A has 90, B has 85. Okay, we know that the index of the top performer is at is at index 0, and the lowest is at index 1. Okay, let's start putting things together. We also know that the grades what the grades of the lowest and highest are. So 2, A has 90 and B has 85. The top performer is at index 0 with the grade 90, and the lowest performer is at index 1 with the grade 85. So we just have to put that together. So first, we already have the highest grade. This is the highest grade and the lowest grade. So all we have to do is save the value. So let's create the variable highest grade and save the highest grade into this variable. Let's also create another variable called lowest grade and save it to student grade. That, for example, this is 90, lowest is 75. Okay. Next, this is the index. We already know the index. So all we have to do is create another variable to save the index of the highest grade and the index of the lowest grade. So why did we use integer? Since we are going to be saving indexes do not I do not use values with decimal. So for example, you can have 0.5, but that's a no. We only use 0, 1, etc. Close the opening. Okay. Now we want to output the name, which is student name. Now then, we want to output the student name and the student grade. Let's just put a separator in between. Okay. Okay. We already know that the student who has the highest grade is going to be located at this index. So we take this and add it here. And we know his grade is saved on this value. So highest grade. For the lowest grade, we know that the index is saved here. So it will find the name on that index and also the grade. Okay. So with that, we can now output the top performer and the lowest performer. Let us run the code. Student name. Names. Okay. We're missing an S. How many will you input for? We have A with the grade of 90, B with a grade of 75, C with grade of 50, and D the grade of 100. So we know that so far D should be the top performer and C is the lowest performer. So this is the list. And now we can see that student D is the top performer with a score of 100 and C is the lowest performer with a score of 50.